One of the keys about HubSpot, its ability to work across different platforms in terms of its level of integration. One of the areas where it has a really good and deep integration is with Google, specifically with Google Workspace or Gmail. What we're going to be looking at is how a user of HubSpot and also a user of Google Workspace or Gmail can actually now use both applications together and work from one focus space to really get most of their work done. So we're going to be taking a look at how we use HubSpot Sales Extension for Gmail. Let's check it out. All right, so one of the first places that we would actually need to be is if you look at certain areas of my screen, you're going to see a couple of things. First, you're going to see this particular icon here that shows that HubSpot Sales Extension is actually connected. And then there's another one further up to the top right here that also shows that it's also installed as the actual extension. And if we go across to the side, there's an actual indicator that's here. Now, what that does is that it gives you the ability to do a number of different things as it relates to adding or researching contacts or working from one respective space. So like, for instance, where this is concerned, let's say this was an actual contact that I wanted to not just reply to, but add to the CRM. So from right here, I can add that person to the CRM, or based upon how I reply to that individual, the ability to have that information stored in the CRM by all of my actual communication, and HubSpot will then automatically update the CRM record with that communication. Now, how do we go about getting that? So what we'll need to do is, of course, you'll be going across to where your extensions are. So I have it here in my extensions already. But if you do not have it in your extensions, what you'll need to do from going across to where it says extensions and it's brought here, you will need to go to the Web Chrome store. Now, once you're at the Web Chrome store, the place that you're going to have to look for it is what you'll be able to type in. You'll go to on the discovery page, and from there, you'll be able to type in HubSpot. And it says Sales Extension, and this is what you're going to be looking for, all right? Now, again, for me, it says remove from Chrome, but for you, it's going to say add to Chrome. So once you click add to Chrome, it's going to go through the process of adding the extension into your respective Google Workspace or just onto your Gmail. And from having that, then what you will then be able to see within your email are these respective icons that I just mentioned here. All right. Now, more than likely, you're going to have to refresh your screen to be able to see it from there. But at least you know that you will have it installed. So now that you have it installed, what are some of the things to look at? So let's go into the settings of it. So once you have it showing up here, what we'll do is that we're then going to be clicking on settings. And then from there, we're going to see a number of different things. All of these things are generally configurations. So what I'll do is I'll kind of walk you through what each one is. I may skip one or two because some of it may not be relevant, or we'll handle those in a different video. So let's take a look first at log and track, because that's the main thing of actually having this extension. So log and track means that when you are sending emails from Gmail, it gives you the ability to log and track your records directly from the CRM. So once you reply to an email, if you receive an email that's actually coming in, you have HubSpot is actually going to pick up on those particular emails. And as you see here, it can actually create new contacts based upon the emails that you're seeing. And when that happens, of course, it makes life easier, especially for a sales rep or any particular user, so that they don't have to manually log that individual into the system. Similar to what we see here, this is an actual indication as to what that looks like. If I were to take off the log and track settings, where this is actually saying to add to the CRM. So if I wanted to add this to my CRM, what I'll do is I'll just click where it says add, and HubSpot is going to go through the process of beginning to add it to the CRM, and it's going to ask me for any additional information that I would want to have, whether it's first name, last name, etc., based upon however you have your contact form filled out, which is something that we'll deal with in another video. But based upon how you have that contact form filled out, that information, and you click create, that is now going to be a contact inside of your CRM. From there, though, what you then have the ability of doing is now working with that respective contact. So let's just say that there was a contact that you wanted to work with. So here with the extension installed, you'll see a list of all of your contacts. So these contacts are directly contacts that's in my CRM. So I can work with these contacts from here. And if I wanted to do something specifically with Joel Paul, I'll have all of the respective information as it relates to about this respective contact. And it's going to show me a bit of a history, right? So it's going to give me a history as it relates to the company that Joel is associated with, any deals that we would have had with her or them from before, tickets and tasks. Also, it's going to give you a little bit of the activities. So like, what was the last thing that was done And if you actually expand into it, it can actually show you as to what was the email that was sent. So when we're looking at this, what we're seeing is we are seeing functionality that's happening from right within your Gmail without you having to jump back and forth. So the objective is really taking the time to understand how the sales extension works and just getting comfortable working in Gmail as you always do. But now HubSpot now sits to the side as a little bit of your assistant or quote unquote sidekick. So let's continue. So as we are here, you have the ability of doing a couple of things along the lines of sending notes, pushing an email out to the individual, making a call. If it is that you have the ability to make calls based upon where I am, this particular call feature does not work unless I'm calling the US or Canada. Creating your tasks and more, right? Because you could actually create meetings, even though you can do it here in Gmail, enroll someone in a sequence or enroll your customer, your sales agent or your prospecting agent if it is that you are actually on Sales Pro. If we are going back to the settings again, what we will have the ability of doing is, of course, you can actually configure the tool. Configuring the tool basically means that when this comes up, you can now adjust. It's really a matter of adjusting what these tools going to show up as if it is that you're sending an email. And if I had to give you an example of that, if I were to go across here to where it says compose, I'm going to expand it a little bit, right? We're going to see that these same tools are the tools that are showing up. So the same things that we were just looking at configuring, these are the same things here. Again, enroll an agent, write an email for me. So you'll be using HubSpot's AI. If you have payment links that you want inside of HubSpot that you wanted to use, document snippets, etc. So all of the respective tools that you have access to, that's what actually shows up here. What's also just as important, if I were to put in someone's name here, so if I were to use someone's name, what you will see is that the log and track settings is already set for us. And you could actually now indicate if you wanted to actually associate this person with other things or other objects that's inside of the actual CRM. So again, by the time I hit send here, this information is actually automatically going to be logged inside of HubSpot. So what else do we have the ability of doing with the actual sales extension? Well, you also have the ability of creating or updating your tasks. So again, I can do my day-to-day work without having to jump across into HubSpot or without having to use the mobile app. So I can now come from here, and if there were specific tasks that I wanted to create, or if there are tasks that I wanted to take off of my board, I can just click on this and that task will be done. So in terms of task management or staying on top of the work that I want to do, I have the ability of doing that from right within my G Suite or my workspace, and HubSpot is going to be able to surface all of those things for me. Now, again, what's most important is this. If you are not logging the information, then there's nothing that you have the ability to manage. So you must have the discipline of updating the information so that HubSpot will be able to support you or remind you as time goes on. Now, HubSpot actually does support you in, let's say you had a meeting and HubSpot would listen to certain things that's happening in the meeting and suggest respective tasks for you, but it's not going to automatically create a task for you, but it's going to surface the information that it believes that you should be paying attention to as it relates to your tasks. So what are a couple other things that we can do with the extension now? Let's go back. So apart from just your contacts, a couple of things that you could now do with the extension, if we go into another area of the settings, if we go all the way up to where the actual extension is, right? So if it is that we were to go back into the extension itself, this is where you can see all of your respective notifications, different types of activity feeds, notifications. So you can see all of the emails that were opened, emails that your customers would have clicked on. If there was a link in there, you would see their sent emails, lead lists, etc., etc. So everything is now here in one perspective space. And also any enrollments, anybody that's enrolled in a sequence or not enrolled in a sequence, you have the ability of pulling that up from here. Importantly, though, you have where you can look at your settings and you can enable a couple important things, right? So you have the ability of enabling the Breeze Assistant from here, and I'll show you where that works. And of course, where it goes to where it says sort of HubSpot everywhere, I'll also show you where that is as well. You could actually exclude certain websites that you don't want HubSpot to show up on. And of course, you now have the extension enabled in a number of different spaces. In this area, well, it's by default is going to be always the sales extension. On all other websites, we have that set there. Salesforce, if you have the Salesforce and HubSpot integration, but of course in your calendar. Now, what does that look like if we're talking about calendar stuff? It means that if I'm in my calendar, HubSpot works for me if I were to update my calendar from here, I can now come in and I can see what meetings were scheduled, completed, rescheduled, etc. I mean, you could work this a little bit from an automation if you think of it strategically in another way. But nonetheless, though, this is where you have the ability of seeing what you can and can't, well, how you manage HubSpot, but it's now inside of your Google Workspace calendar or in your Gmail calendar. When we have that setting on, this is what it looks like inside of your respective calendar. And if you have the calendar sync feature set up as well, then it means that it's going to sync a lot of different things as it relates to, if you have out of office set up here, it's also going to show up in HubSpot as well as it relates to the out of office. Because we have this setting on where it looks at respective websites, for those of us that are actually prospecting, this is what has the ability of doing for us. So in this instance, I am looking at the Trinidad and Tobago, the telecommunications services of Trinidad and Tobago. So what we will call TSTT. So this is where that extension sits. So here it is, right to the side. So this is the breeze, and this is where I can use it to exclude or manage some of the settings here. So if I were to go back, what happens here if I click this is that the sales extension is actually now going to slide out. And what it's going to show me is going to show me all of my previous history or activities. So I have activities from here. And it's going to show me all of the respective details. If I wanted to send an email, it's going to surface the email. In terms of the box from right here, it doesn't always come up as cleanly as I would like. Maybe I just need to expand it. So this is what we're looking at here. And I can just go ahead and I send, and I still have access to all of my respective tools once I have a name in terms of who the email is actually going to. So I must have a recipient. So you still get to use templates, documents, meetings, quotes, etc., plus all of the other tools that you have access to based upon your subscription type. Apart from that, too, if it is that we were looking at particular things along the lines of, so this one says here, it says open. So because we already have TSTT in our CRM, it says open. But what if we did not have it? So in this example, we have Petrotrin Petroleum, and Petrotrin Petroleum is not part of our CRM as yet. So what we have the ability of doing is that if I were to look here, it says add. So I can now add Petrotrin Petroleum because I don't have any sort of history. But what if I wanted to do particular things like research on it before I did anything else? It means that I could now activate the Breeze Assistant. And if I were to go to one of my favorited prompts and I click on where it says technology, and I wanted to put in the respective domain of this organization. So I'm actually doing my prospecting from right here. I have the ability of using it here. And if I were to click proceed, it's going to do the respective research, and then it's going to come back and it's going to give me all of the information showing up. So it's going to tell me as to what applications they might be using online based upon if this is important for me as it relates to my business. So it's telling me that they're using WordPress, that's a CMS platform, etc., etc. So if this checks off as a good lead for me to follow up with, then I can come back here and I can say, okay, you know what? Now I would like to add them to the CRM. So in essence, based upon how you work how you do your day-to-day work, HubSpot Sales Extension facilitates you to do a number of different things throughout your day without always having to jump from one application, which is HubSpot, then back to Gmail. You can just work from Gmail based upon whatever your workflow is and just continue working in that particular regard. It's smooth, it's easy. The more you use it, the more you recognize your functionality is. Now, there are a couple of things that you would have to do, like for instance, if you are building sequences, if you are building sales templates, etc., you could create your sales templates from inside of the Google Workspace, but you'll have to also do your sequences inside of HubSpot and then bring them. Then you'll be able to access them or surface them from inside of Gmail. So there you go. That is a walkthrough of the HubSpot Sales Extension in terms of how to go about setting it up. I do hope this gives a lot of value to you all. I would definitely say if you are a HubSpot user, on the free or on a paid plan in HubSpot. And of course, definitely whatever it is that you're using with Gmail, take advantage of the platform, boost your functionality on your workflow when it comes to HubSpot and Gmail. Catch you all in another video.